kind of forgot to turn on my microphone. Hello. Welcome. My name is John Limcool. This is a live stream on Saturday, October 20th. Welcome one and all. Let's see here. I want to get everything set up. Turn off the preview here. See that we are streaming here. Yes, we are. I am streaming in 1920 by 1080 HD. Please confirm. It should be working. And I'm working on a sound. And let's see what. This is too fast. We got. And we need to have like a delay, like a. Tell me if you know the theme. 1080 is working fine. Good. Yay. Don't you love free upgrades to stuff like this? Just by finding the right parameters. Now, if I go to part 2, it's not quite right. I'll keep working on this, but let me go here. And we need to go to samples, to the Retrosphere. And actually, I'm going to do this. Let's actually go to multi and not do it this way. I'm going to do it stack so that I can window this. And then part 2 is up here, and we don't need these parts. We'll remove those parts for now. Part 2. Oh, I always hit that button by accident. They need to make that bigger. That's not quite it. What theme is this that I'm poorly playing? It's a John Carpenter film, but it's not Escape from New York. Plays around with these, really cool. It does star Kurt Russell. As I said, The Thing, Phillips got it. No, if it's Halloween, let's keep going. Let's see if we zone this. Add part 3. This is how you make multis if you wanted to do this stuff. You just add parts. Part 3 for this, I'm going to cheat. Go to Keyscape. Let's say we go to Cinematic. And we want to turn off this interface. And we want, since it's layer A only, we're going to go to reverb. Need to speed it up a little bit. And if it was supposed to be, let's see. I'd want to add a little bit more ballsiness to this. I want to add EQs, so the 3 band is my favorite. Shoot this down to 100 hertz. can't do the same things. I don't want to break. So, yeah. So, this was fun with retro samples. Oh, we gotta get this up. So let me save this because I'll come back to this. Let's go save multi. The thing. And let's just save it into here. Oh, it's gonna want a folder. My category, will this work? Yeah, save. Okay. So that was fun. How are you all doing? Now we could make this spookier. Let's just go back to this one patch and let's flush it out. So let's remove part 2. Remove part 3, map this across the whole keyboard. We can turn off stack mode. We could add a little wave shaper. And let's have this modulate with like the 16th note really fast. And we'll song position it. Let's say song position, this shape. And let's just have it go in a unipolar, so it only goes to here. It doesn't go into negatives. Just a little bit. That becomes a white noise element without needing an oscillator. Hear that? We'll save this patch as I'll just save it into the generic right now. We'll put it into the full library later. BPM bass RS1 because this is retro volume 1 thing. And I'll keep refining this and stuff, but oh, we got it. That's the one thing. If you go through the saving process, you do have to go through and say this is using an ARP. It's where's bass? Bass synth mode is kind of disturbing, dramatic, intense. It makes me nervous. Could be powerful. We'll add some other stuff to ambient, definitely for film, experimental, dance. We use it for hip hop. And yours truly. And I'll fill out all this stuff later. So save. All right. So anyway, welcome. So there's kind of 3 things on the list plus customer questions, meaning if you guys have questions. Are you using mouse wheel? Yeah, we'll talk about that. That's one of the new features that is in Good and Fat Sound, like the panning. Yeah, that's using just the delay number 2, which has got the delay times 2. So it has a left and a right that each have their own timing values. You can get stereo delays from delay 1, but it's only 1 timing value, then it divides it. So it's kind of fun to have it with 2, where you have specific timing values you can say for the right and left side. First, I want to show you a little bit about Retrosphere. It's coming along nicely. I've been making all sorts of it sounds funny, But if you put this, let's see here. I think I have, I mute this. Let's do just a total retro groove really quick. 1, 2. And let's quantize that. And then let's play for a minute with kits. It's really fun to make retro kits. So let's call up Super Macho Drums. Oh, let's use the EDM kit and turn it retro. The way to make something retro is go to global. And then go to the snare you're using and say drums. Let's see, there's a really nice, where is it? Snare plate. And let's make the reverb actually shorter. And I'm going to have this kick drum go to the stereo mix instead of the limiter mix. So I can pop it out to be a little bit louder. And let's actually lock this. That way I can play a little trailer. And then the snare, it's like that and like that. There. Now when we play this bass sound, that sounded kind of funny. Very cool retro. So I was going and aiming it at all sorts of different. It's cool, this it's cool because it's got a hi-hat kind of. So the ones that say JL are patches that I've made. Versus these are just the core patches of Retrosphere that you get right now at the site. And we'll make a couple more patches with this at the end. I'll show you just. All pads, all the big. All that kind of stuff. This is even bigger. So these will all be given away. These are my patches that I am making to contribute to the community library that you are invited to be a part of if you want. That means that you are making Super Macho Drums compared to RMX. Big difference. That's a question for later. We'll look at that. I'll show you some differences. But these are the patches that I'm making to contribute to the library. And then on Halloween's Eve, these patches will be given away to everybody for free. Plus, all the patches you guys make and get to me. We'll put it all into one big library and give it away. So if you feel like programming for Halloween, we're making Halloween sounds like the thing. I'm going to be making some weird, scary things and textures and all that. Have fun, make patches with this library, and then you get this bonus library of your patches plus everybody else's all put together. And then I'll pick out the best of those patches and make the final version of Retrosphere. It will be $39. Those of you that contribute patches will get a credit to any library on my website of your choice to buy, to get for free. So that is a little incentive to make patches on top of just making them for fun. if you want to kind of go for broke, you can have access to any, not the bundles, but any single products, okay? So join the fun. We'll make some more Retrosphere patches at the end. As far as the question between Super Macho Drums and Stylus RMX, Stylus RMX is mainly a groove player. It plays loops that have been chopped up with recycle so that they are separate pieces. These are just drum kits. There are drum kits in Stylus RMX, but they're only 8 samples. Every one of these kits have 61 samples. I think this interface is maybe the fastest, funnest interface to work with for changing drum sounds. It's really easy to import your own samples into this. If I wanted to, I could very easily, let's see, I could go like this. You could go to this edit page, to the mapping editor, select all these, delete them, copy, paste a full folder of WAV files, paste them into here, do a couple steps, and they end up being samples that are into this interface where you now can go to each one, any pitch, any panning. You've got 2 reverbs, one of them being a distortion and hits. You have this cool interface with 6 different effects that you can apply. There is a groove player, and it kind of works like Stylus RMX, but it's playing MIDI files, which means you can make your own MIDI files and load them in. You can go to any of these Super Macho Drum MIDI files and all these. There's like hundreds and hundreds of grooves. And now it's playing this one sound, right? So here I hit stop. I can hit lock and I can hit play. Oh, wait, not playing the sequencer, but play here. And I can be just changing the parameters of this one sound. So it's a way to do all sorts of really fun things. Also, if you go to the groove player and you hit the little auto button, this makes it work like Stylus RMX and other groove things where when you hit play in your sequencer, it starts up and plays. And when you hit stop, it stops. So the groove player can do some really cool things. It's got windowing where you can, in Stylus RMX, when you're playing a groove, you can't window it in this way. Whereas here I could take something that's a pop groove and let's go to the whole kit. Go to global, make sure the filter's up. Oh, let's go. Oh. I can bring up the pitch of the whole kit. I can turn on the transient designer for the whole kit. You can send things to separate outputs, but what's fun is I now have windowing, so I can take down the high notes, so till I find the hi-hats. I could window to where it's just a kick. Or I could window it above this to get rid of the kick. So you can make all sorts, if you just need high energy, just go like this. Now you go through all the loops and you have no kick and snare, but you're going through and finding high energy grooves. It's super powerful and simple to use, and it's one interface. It's not multiple pages and menus and things of that nature. So it's fun. It comes with so many drum kits. All of these drum kits, these are the original drum kits that came with it, including like vintage. So you could say vintage. And now you have samples from vintage machines. There's like so many kits and so many loops, and we keep making new stuff for it. So, and they're new sounds. The one thing that Stylus has going, mostly that Stylus has against it, is that it's not been updated in forever. So the sounds, there's nothing that matches what sounds are used in music in the last 8 years, maybe? Something like that. Since dubstep, before that, I mean, techno was just taken off with house and so forth, but there's been no new sounds added to it from the company side of things to upgrade it to a new sound yet. So someday I'm sure they will, but they haven't done that yet too. RX2 is cool. Remix. RX2? You mean remix? Yeah, Stylus RMX is still heavily used and extremely useful. One of the things, if you have Stylus RMX and you haven't done this, you can go looking and find on the website at different websites that sell loops. Let's see, Spectrasonics, DOS-RMX. You can find RX2 file loop, different libraries will come out in loop format. So you can go over here to the user libraries, and here are all sorts of things that are libraries I've imported that were RX2 loops. Some of these are available commercially, some are not, but you can go cinematic impacts, and here's all sorts of things. And again, it's 8 groove parts, so it's really easy to build up. The other thing that RMX has going for it that is used heavily by yours truly is, let's see, if we say multi-clear, part 1, if you go to the core library and then you go to groove elements, this is nothing but bongos, all these individual instrument loops. So these shakers, these get used so much. Or tambourines. Just using this on your track to get a real tambourine player showing up, it's great. Because they're from MIDI files, the timing is human. It's not sequenced for the most part. And so when I was building the power pack that I sell, when you come over here, I think I've got it installed. Yeah. These are all using all of those separate groove elements and stuff and groove things to create all sorts of grooves based on those individual multis and stuff. So the Stylus Power Pack still has validity. Third-party loops that are RX2 libraries. It still sounds great. Just needs an update to some of the new features, and who knows what they're going to do to it. So, but it's still a viable, powerful. I don't want to take anything away from Stylus RMX because it is an awesome rhythmic powerhouse, no doubt. That's before you get into chaos and all the other crazy stuff in there, right? So let's see, what are you guys chatting about? Yeah, 9-volt audio, loop loft. So yeah, there's a lot of great libraries that you can get. Hi, John. Squeaky door. Okay, Sonny. I don't know what that means. So let me show you real quickly. An update just recently came out for Omnisphere 2.5.1. I just did a video where I went through everything and showed it. Let me do kind of a summary video. Let's initialize this. It's got some very nice new, it has some fixes for some things that needed to be fixed. Publishing libraries was a little funky, and that's all fixed. Other things got improved considerably as well. But some enhancements were added as well. And that's what I think is really cool. For one thing, it's Mojave compatible. The next thing was granular on this page. Even without having granular on or anything, if I wanted to, let's see if I go hiding everything. I think I've still got, here is the notes with the specifics of this update. So they added user audio import on the granular page. Envelopes are now editable by double clicking. There's an indication for waiting for MIDI learn. And then the really cool one is mouse wheel to scroll over mouse menus. So I'll just do quick demos of each of those. Let's see, here's, oh, I don't know. Let's see. So if I go to, give me a second here to get to a folder of samples, sample libraries. Let's say we go to one of the combo libraries. Here's like symbol effects. This is from deadmau5's library. So let's take this wave file. Let me hear what it sounds like. Here's a good one. So if I want this into Omnisphere, you just go up here, click, drag, let go. And it takes it a minute, depending on how long the sound is. And then you'll get a notice that pops up. They need to have an indicator saying importing. I'm sure they will add such a thing at some point. Test 1, 2. We crashed. Whoops, let me see here. Everybody's back. I crashed. Is audio back? Just confirming with you guys. No, you can't scroll through the arpeggiator presets. I don't think this doesn't. It has to be a place that has this type of an interface. In other words, the synth waveforms, you can now scroll with the mouse. The filters, you can scroll with the mouse. LFOs, you can scroll. Do we have audio? Okay. Yep. Okay, good. Good. So I was showing you granular. If you go and take an audio file and drag it over this, it should import it. Let's see if it will do it without crashing. If it crashes, I'll come back. Just it doesn't. It's only, yeah, there we go. So it imported it. So oh, I need to do this. I need to go stack, turn off. So I'm just working with patch 1. So, and then I can turn on granular if I want, or and my position. So you can use this to import audio into Omnisphere instead of having to go to the sound sources and enabling the user audio box and dragging into this box. They basically made the granular, this whole window, this waveform is the same thing as the user audio box right here. So you can import audio very quickly. It does import it permanently into Omnisphere. If you import audio, you will end up with a whole bunch of folders that are dated. This is dated from today. And here's dated from the video that I put up on YouTube. I imported these in, so. So there you go. So there you can import user audio that way, which is nice. The double click to edit just means you double click on an envelope in the envelope, advanced envelope window page, and you are now adding envelope segments just like that, just by double clicking. If you double click on an existing one, it goes away. Before this, you needed to right click and say remove or add. The one thing I wish they would do right now, it works the same way as add does, right? Puts it right in the middle. Well, I wish that if I was right here and I double clicked right here, I wish it would add it right here. I wish it was location aware. It's not. It's just, it does the same thing as add, so it puts it in the middle, and now you have to move it where you want it to be. So if you say double click here, it doesn't matter. It still is equal distance between the 2 points. It's where it places the next node when you double click. So that works. The other one was MIDI learn. If I wanted my mod wheel to be controlling filter cutoff, in the past, if you would right click on this and say MIDI learn, you wouldn't know that it was waiting. But now there's this glowing box, and now when I move my mod wheel, the box goes away because it's now been captured to this. And I can say unlearn that because I don't want to have it doing that. Okay. And then the last big one is that if you're on any of the synth waveform pages, the filters, let's see if I have to go let's go back to Retrosphere. And for the filter presets, I can now scroll. And this is all the presets. If I wanted this to be a waveform, I can now scroll. And the advantage of this is that if you click, normally all these folders and nested folders, it gets really tedious to go here to go to the next one. This is how you used to have to, well, you could use the plus and minus, right? They just made the plus and minus so that it now can scroll through the waveforms. So there wasn't a plus and minus for the filters presets, which is really nice to now have. The other place that I found this to be super, super helpful is if you go to the effects, there's a handful of effects under distortion, there's an amplifier, thrift shop. I don't know if you know this, but there are literally hundreds of different speaker simulators in thrift shop. You can make it stereo. You can say off. So you're just using these speakers. If you ever want to make funky sounds that are live from FM radio. And then you can go from your beginning that's like this to that. There's tons. And you can sit here and click like this, but now you can just scroll through the wheel. The other place this is really handy in programming is under Creative Interspace. Interspace has literally thousands of different presets for Interspace to take your sound. It's a convolution reverb basically, and it's actually 2 convolution reverbs with EQ and so forth. But you can now scroll through all these thousands of presets just with the mouse wheel. So you don't have to click anything. You don't have to try to click this thing and miss it, and just scroll with your mouse wheel. So that is really handy to have. And you know, it's funny how little tiny things like that just make things easier to use. And it's nice to see things like that will come up. Hey, Clark. Are you skipping with any mouse wheel? What? I'm using a very old, very old Microsoft, what is it? The Microsoft Basic Optical Mouse. I bought like 4 of them. These are like 15 years old. Can't find them anymore. It's the right size for my hand. Bigger ones give me carpal tunnel. I can't use trackballs. Those give me carpal tunnel. I've had carpal tunnel. I've gone through Chinese acupuncture to cure my carpal tunnel. I don't have carpal tunnel now. I do exercises and stretches and all sorts of things like that. But it's just a little Microsoft mouse with a little wheel on the top of it. So if you have a wheel on the top, you can now use that wheel and just scroll through presets. Yeah, McAllie, it's just your standard optical mouse, you know. No custom buttons on the side. It has 2 buttons on the top, you know, one that can be right click, so I can just click that to get the right click to pop up, and the other is just the mouse pointer pop. And that's all you need, really. So those were the 4 enhancements. The dragging into the granular for now importing audio, double clicking on envelopes. So you can now just go over here and double click and be programming to your heart's content on rhythmic envelope type things, or things with motion, things that you want like that. The wait for MIDI learn now has an indicator. When you say MIDI learn, it's flashing. Let's see, if you wanted to turn that off, they don't have a MIDI unlearn. So you'd have to do that and then say unlearn. That's interesting. So if you have this waiting, let me see something. They should have set this to say cancel. They don't have, if you say MIDI learn it, yeah, they don't have a cancel. They need a cancel. So right now you'd have to move something, and now you have the ability to unlearn it. So that unlearn needs to change to a cancel if you ask me, but Okay, and then finally was just the mouse scrolling. I don't think it does it on samples. It won't go through samples, although you can. Mouse wheel does not work on the sample page, but on the synth page, you can use it to scroll through everything. Okay, LFO shapes, filter presets. As others have pointed out on the art page, it won't do it here because there's no window here showing you art presets. That would be really nice if this was to be turned into a preset window right here, don't you think? So then you could scroll through all the presets, because that's the one thing that takes a lot of work, is scrolling all the way down, finding the art presets, going through them. Oh, I changed my mind. I want to use another one. Now you got it. It's a bit of work. So it'd be nice if that was available. But there's always, nice thing with software, there's always room for things to be updated even more. Let's see here. Oh, copy and paste of LFOs? Yeah. Also, they have, just for those of you that do so, in the past version, the publish library did not work. You'd say publish violin, and it did 2 up. It would publish that library, which is weird. This version fixes so publish library works as expected, which is nice. So overall, it's a very nice, they did a lot of fixes as well to how things work. Well done. Yay, Spectrasonics. I could actually, let's see here, 2.5.1 update. Let's see. Was there anything about LFOs? Presets loading on Windows, but it doesn't say anything about copy paste of LFOs. But if that wasn't working and it's working, then yay, that's good news. All right, so we'll come back to making patches with Retrosphere in a minute. Finally, let me show you a new plugin that just showed up on the scene. That is kind of nifty. And that is the Roland JX3P. Let's go like this so it's minimized and over the top of the interface. If you turn up the volume on this, there's noise. It purposefully has noise, so it sounds like because the JX3P never had a digital out. If you were ever to use it, that noise, if you remember, is in the sound. So someone's gonna sample this and use noise reduction to get rid of the noise. So if you want to edit patches, you'll notice that there's minimal editing parameters here. You've got the access to reverb, delay, the effect types, things that didn't exist actually on a JX3P. I think it might have had chorus type, but now you have more things you can add. If you want to edit, you hit the edit button and guess what pops up? A PG200. I used to work with a PG200 editor. So. And here you have cutoff. Here's your mix settings. So overall, if you've ever worked with a JX3P, it's got a lot of the same sounds to it. If you wanted to compare this to other retro kind of synthesizers that are out there, this is still maybe the king. Just sounds so nice. Let me do this. The JX3P is breathing. Let's mute that. So this guy here, he doesn't breathe. Now this does, like a Juno 60, it's got the 2 types of chorus. Doesn't have any reverb. It doesn't have any of the other presets, things that you can find if you go to the JX3P. So you can do some very nice things. I don't know if you can turn the noise off. Option. You can make it larger. You can change it to a System 8 layout if you want. So it brings some of the parameters here instead of you seeing it as, I guess it's no longer with the PG200 editor. It puts them all in one panel. Kind of nice. Versus this. I don't see a noise on off. So I think oh, chorus. Chorus is where the noise is. That's funny. You have a newer or an older, I guess. If you hear this hissing and you want to get rid of it, check to see if the chorus is on, because that's where it's coming from. How funny. Want to hear a funny story? So my parents have owned a music store all my life for the most part. And I grew up in Eastern Oregon, and I graduated from a community college there. And I wanted to get out of Ontario, Oregon. It's a little town of 10,000. And so I could teach, and I knew synthesizers. My mom let me go see the introduction of the DX7 in Portland with the piano technician that was at the store. So I had this background with synthesis as well as being a musician. And she knew the teacher at the music store in Seattle, Washington, that was the head of Yamaha Music School there. And they talked, and she said, yeah, he wants to move to a bigger city and doesn't want to stay in this town of 10,000. And so they hired me to come up for a job interview. Well, they said, come up for a job interview, but actually, I think they hired me. I think they kind of hired me on the spot, just like, yeah, he'll probably work out. We trust you and what you said. So I came to Seattle, Washington, drove up there. It was like about an 8-hour drive. I actually went to like a car wash and used the bathroom to change into nice clothes. Walked into this music store on North Aurora in North Seattle. And my future roommate, the son of the owner, was standing with the Roland keyboard, the Axe, playing a JX3P through a guitar amplifier doing Eddie Van Halen licks. That was my introduction to the store. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun. Right in the middle of the store. And then once I joined and we started, we went to high schools and we teach about MIDI and sample kids' voices and play them in a little Bach piece. We did all sorts of things. A whole bunch of stuff. We developed to where we were at, after 3 years of being there, we were selling more synthesizers than Yamaha and Bosendorfer grand pianos. It was pretty amazing how successful we were. Then the M1 came out. We sold a boatload of M1s. And I had been friends with the product specialist for Korg on the West Coast, a guy named Ben Dowling. And he lived in Los Angeles, and the M1 came out, and it just went crazy. The orders, he was just swamped. And he said, hey, we need to hire someone else. Would you be interested? Because he would come into the store, and he would say, I've got new sounds for you. And I was a weird salesman that would make sounds for my customers for all the synthesizers we sold. And I go, I have sounds for you. So he knew of my love for sounds and my knowledge of the gear and stuff. So Korg flew me on a red-eye to New York. I'd never been on a red-eye before in my life. Did an interview in front of Jack Hotop, Kim Holland, Ben Dowling was there again. Did a dog and pony with the M1, talked about all the other companies and the Akai samplers and Kurzweil that we sold. And they hired me. And then I moved to Los Angeles. And that's how I got into the Korg family. So walking into a music store, and Keith was standing there playing a JX3P going through a Roland Axe through a guitar amplifier was how it all started. So those were good times. Yeah. So that goes back in time a bit. Hi, Iwa. Welcome, my friend. Yeah, the RolandCloud has come a long ways. They've been really nice to give me a subscription to the cloud. And so I'm happy to talk about what they have to offer. I mean, it's no joke. They've been working their tail end off to really turn it into something of value. If you haven't checked lately, check this out. If you go to the RolandCloud Concerto, the D50 is there, Juno 106 is there. So if you say Juno 106, now you have a sounds very nice. If you want to go to other things, they have, I should point out, the D50 sounds just great. I mean, and you have access to all of the parameters, so you can say partials and see all of the crazy envelopes and so forth that were part of the sound for how their envelopes were really unique in that they had times and they had levels, kind of like it was kind of a DX7-ish kind of a cloning in some ways. So all the parameters, all the presets are here. They have tons of additional presets for the D50. They keep adding things. If you notice in this list now, there's also the TR-808, TR-909 are there, System 8, System 100. They have these ProMars, which goes to sample libraries, and they have all sorts of sample libraries available. Oh no, ProMars is their cool, kind of like retro synth. Really a cool personality to this. Let's see, where was the preset? Nice sound. So they have been working to add a lot to what is available for this subscription. You pay for a subscription on a monthly basis, but there's a lot. The SRX Orchestra, this is all the 1080 and all the orchestra cards and so forth. So you have all those classic orchestral sounds, and the library goes on and on and on for all sorts of things. These big orchestras, the full orchestras. You know, stuff like that. So it's a good option. It's a good option if you need a lot of sounds, not just utility, but a lot of sounds that are utility and more. There's a thing, is it Concerto? There's someplace that gets to all these sound libraries, and they have all these instruments now. It might take it a minute to select an instrument. I don't know if it needs to update. I did add some new things to this, so we won't show that right now. But there's all these trap and all these other libraries of samples available to it, and I'm not sure how you access them off the top of my head, but there's a lot to work with. So that's the cloud. If you have questions, pop them up. We're gonna go back here. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna make a couple patches for Retrosphere together. I think I still have this up. I was playing some other sounds and scores and so forth. What was it? Lost Themes? No, I want to do a, let's see. I'm going to listen. You guys can't hear this for a second. Funny. Puppet Master, here's the fog. It's amazing how much Halloween theme influenced so much. Well, actually, Tubular Bells started it, I think, in some respects. Oh, that's a good one. It Follows. Have you seen that? It's cool music for that library. That's movie too. Yeah, we'll do that. A cool kind of spooky haunted lead with portamentos. Let's go initialize. So let's go to samples, Retrosphere. That'd be a good start. And then let's put an analog chorus on this to warm it up. And for this, we want to have a little bit long release. Make it mono. Then we're going to turn on glide. And I want to move the attack. So it's not so brassy, it's more lead. With these samples, a lot of them have really great attack, like a brass, but a lot of times you don't want the brass vibe, so you can go just a little bit into the sample. So we're gonna let this one be lazy. Now watch this, this is a great shortcut. If you just say copy layer and go to layer B and say paste layer, I've duplicated A to B. And now I can go surfing, go over here to sharing. And for this layer, oh, it's all global. I wish we had glide separated. We need to get a spooky reverb on this whole thing. So let's go reverb spring. Let's go to the EQ, lower the bass. And then on the auxiliary, let's add like a retroplex into a radio delay. That's a nice combination for a vintage vibe. We'll have this be 100%. Let's say half notes. Okay, so now we're gonna bring this down to be just a small amount of that. And let's lower this reverb. And then I'm gonna put actually a silver reverb, or what's the reverb? Easy verb on top of this with no pre-delay. And I want to use the UVI 3. That's like maybe the most transparent. I'm going to add, and I know I could double click, I didn't. This might have a little bit more shape. Here's without it. So by giving it shape, and as you can see, it's brighter. So sometimes I will go over here and I will also modulate the filter cutoff with that filter envelope. And just get a little bit more definition. And we'll go save patch as well, there's more I gotta do. I need to have spooky LFO, right? So hey, hypothesis. Hypothesis. Sorry. Welcome. So we're programming Omnisphere retro patches. This is kind of a haunted theme one. Then I'm going to do a dance retro kind of sound after this. And to do pitch LFO, there's two things you need to do. You can either do it to the fine tune if you want it to be controlled. If you want it to be wider ranged and radical, then you would assign here, modulate with an LFO. And then you can bring down, remember 0.125 is an octave. That's why like going to this is like more octaves than an 128 note keyboard. So we'll just say, sometimes I like more than 20 cents. And then you bring your depth down to 0. And then you right click on depth and say modulate the depth with your mod wheel. And that's how you get your modulation wheel like a traditional analog synthesizer to do pitch LFO. And to make this fun, let's start a little bit slower. And then right click and have the mod wheel also speed up the LFO speed a little bit. Not a lot, but. Cool. Let's see if we want to trick it out anymore. What I like to do sometimes and then turn it off. So sometimes on patches that are with muted oscillator layers, there's things hiding there in case you want to grab them. So save patch as lead Lead, LEAD-RS1. And this was based on the theme for It Follows. It is following you. And let's say we'll put this into the user library, and then I'll move it to the full library later because the same things are here. Synth mono. And then I have to go through here. It's kind of epic. Kind of complex. Oh, it's not complex motion. Kind of aggressive. Nah, it's not aggressive. Retro synth. Could be melodic. It's a lead synth. Mood. This is kind of dark, disturbing, dramatic, eerie, intense, powerful. Genre, film, electronic, ambient, dance. Yeah, that's enough for now. Complexity, simple. And programmer is me. Where am I at? And then I'll fill out the bottom part later. Cool. All right. So we've made ourselves a lead. Maybe I don't want the LFO rate to be quite so high. And I want the pitch bend down to go at least an octave, maybe more. Okay, so I need to update, so we just go save patch quick. Yep, and we've updated it. Okay. And again. If you want even more power, just turn on layer C. It will be hiding there waiting for you, okay? Anybody else seen It Follows? It was really great. If you haven't seen it, I highly... I'm not even going to talk about it. It's just... it has to do with having sex with someone, and that passes this spirit that chases you until you have sex with someone else and pass it on to them. And watch it. It's just a crazy idea that someone thought that up and did it really, really, really well. It's great. All right, so we're gonna do a retro, like retro pop kind of thing. So let me call up. There's so many great retro albums that I've been listening to. That's not one of them. Wow. That's more modern than... Yeah, no, we need more like retro wave. There we go. I like that. I like that. That's cool. Okay, if we can do that. Key of B. This is a song called Montrose by Lematos. Lematos. If you've got Spotify available, you can hear it. I'm going to try to go for the bass sound. We'll do it as an ARP so it can do the exact pattern. Now, I'll point this out. The retro wave are samples. There's some great samples here. There's single samples. So for bass, especially driving bass like what's going on in this song, let's start with this as a basis. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. I can tell when something's about to crash. The audio just stopped working. It's like, okay, we just lost audio. It is going to crash. So let's see. One nice thing with the latest versions of Logic is it has this autosave, which has saved my butt so many times. It's keeping track of where I'm at, so when I reload the song, it says, hey, we auto-saved. Do you want to load that, or do you want to go back to the saved version? So I can say, load the auto-saved, and here we are. I just need to go to the samples and go back to these, to Retrowave. That's hard tech. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's say initialize or just say blank. And then we'll say 16 measures, and I can play a groove. Just so I have. I'm going to pull full 100% art for velocity. It's not going to make a difference on this sound because I don't think I'm going to use the filter. I just want this to be just right there driving, right? Layer B is going to be a synth waveform. And this will have the filtering on it. If I want to make this a bit more fun, because this sound has no filtering, right? It stays stable even at soft velocities, but this one, it has some filtering going on already with the filter. Without it, it'd be like this. So check this out. I can have it like that, or else if I go over and turn on the filter and bring up velocity, it will make this range between the two sounds change. So I can get these things that are really cool variations. Let's go delay. I'm going to make a really narrow range delay. So it's just really dark. I don't mind. Let's see. It can have no Q. With Q, it's in the way. It's too loud. And this is a fun trick I've shown you guys in the past. This low-pass filter, especially with a little Q, you can get some really fun animation by randomly especially if you have to use, the rule is you have to use the arpeggiator, then randomize this. And it'll just percolate around in the background, adding just a little bit of filter up and down. Let's add a dynamic vintage compressor. Maybe we'll put this, we'll move that and put an EQ first. And I don't know if you know this trick, but when you first call up the vintage EQ3, as you sweep up from 50 to 100, listen to the change. Hear how the low end's like focusing? And it actually breaks if you move this, then you have to move it back to about 5 dB. Now, I cheated. I will admit I cheated. I bought a retro library from somewhere that had some loops so that I could get some retro drum loops that had the reverb that sounded like they were coming from a, you know, Lin type of thing or something like that. Where are they at? Downloads. Let's get that. Here we go. I want to use, which one is it? Hey, Alan. Let's see. So let's get this to be placed onto a track. And I'm actually do it this way. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Logic, but you can do some cool things where you say auto. And then when I go to this loop and I drag it into here as a new audio file, it will adapt it. Edit down peep show. So we, oh, let's get this to be, oh, if it doesn't do it, which it didn't, you can option click right here. Oh wait, no, where is it at? Why don't I have my little, normally there's I'll turn automation off maybe. There we go. So I can click here and drag it so it's, there we go. I'm going to turn down my other drum loop so that it's just there a little bit. And let's come over here to one more sample in this. Sharing. Let's listen to just this one part. Now, you might go, that's useless. You can't use that. But if you move sample start in, it gets a nice buzzy retro synth. And to get personality, let's go modulating this with mod 4. Isn't that great? Then you go here and instead you choose it to be a just one spike. Turn off the loop and now it's really hard spike. Two things you can do, hit lock. And bring down the depth. Then you just find the right place. Now you got a cool retro bass. You could even randomize the frequency here of this. Okay, so that's half of the sound. So let's call this up as save patch as, what was the name of that track? What kind of, I think it says Montrose. BPM bass Monty. Let's call it Monty for now. Art BPM RS1. I want to add the synth part that's also in this. So we'll say, okay, it's using ARP, it's analog. Not really perk. It's not true retro, the retro library is the retro library. The patches that I'm making are kind of like retro taken a little bit into the future. Right? So let's see, this is driving. What's we got? We got energetic, intense, powerful, upbeat, genre, ambient, dance. I say ballad because if you slow this down to 70 beats per minute, it's always useful for ballads, stuff like that. So complexity, simple, author, me, save. Now, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to stack this, and I'm going to window this to stop. Right here at B, and then starting on C, we're going to have this part 2, and for part 2, we're going to make part 2 of the track. So let me hear real quick. Okay, so they have a nice big pad. Let's see, part 2. Let's see if you guys have questions. I'm looking here. And Sonic Charge Microtonic is a great drum. Yes, it is. Sometimes I like to loop the pitch envelope. Any experience with 452 hertz is doing something with the brain. You guys are. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and go sample. Go to sharing because that makes user libraries show up. So the way I'm doing this, I'm doing it in a way where I can still play the bass, but I have the other sound in the right hand. Yes, we digressed. It's okay. You guys can talk about anything you want because that's what the community is about. Now, this is a cool trick. I'm trying to take this sample and I want to keep it kind of bright, but I want to redefine the attack. You can use an envelope where you get it really snappy, right? And then bring up the sustain. And there's this snap in there now that didn't exist. Hear that snap? If you want more snap, turn down velocity. Now, the idea is that you'll hold both these parts and it's just going to take off and do this really cool rhythmic thing, right? Pan will stay the same. Let's see if that works, because what happens is it's a... All right, so it's like a do-do-do-do-dum. Now, I want this to play chords, so you go here to mode as played and you say chord, and this way it plays all the notes you play. Okay, it's not quite right because this is in the way all the time. and it's kind of static. So let's go over here. Let's modulate by random the attack. Let's modulate the filter with random just a little bit. These things give it life. Then the big thing that makes this really different, I'm going to try to do it with just one waveform. Oh, we could do it with Alt, and we'll just go over here. I will add the utility imager. Modulate this with envelope 4. And you want to bring this volume down because it's going to be quite loud to about there. And now you go to envelope 4. And if you own Del Norte, you have access to these pulse shapes. So now it's out of the way. I'm so used to just doing that. So the sidechain effect gets it out of the way. I can determine how dramatic I want it to be. We should actually do this to the bass just a little bit. So we'll say copy this envelope and we go to part 1. And hey, look at, we've got access right here to add a utility imager. Modulate this with envelope 4. You can use any of the 4 modulating envelopes if you want. Bring it down to this. And then go to that envelope. Oh wait, mod 4 is being used for the attack, right? So we can't do that. So that means we go to the effects and show modulation. And instead of mod 4, we'll say mod 3. And so it'll do the same thing for 3. It's not needing to be polyphonic or anything like that. And now I can just say paste, and it'll paste that same envelope shape. Let's play this shape. It can be different. And I'm going to fix the releases on this a little bit. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit the infinity for all 3 layers. And I'm going to zoom in on just the release. I want to play with the release to get it to be shaped for the arpeggiator, which is mainly playing with this right here. Super short is fine. So 1. Now we just have to make part 2 bigger. And there's a couple ways to do it. I don't want to use unison because that's a lot of notes of polyphony. So let's try it with the chorus effect. Ultra chorus. And some EQ. Get rid of the middle. And then the other thing that can sweeten this out is to add a modulate the delay, the chorus echo. Bring down the depth a little bit. Feedback down so it doesn't stay so long. And then bring up the tone. So that's a pretty nice way to add. It's a lot less CPU power on your computer to add a chorus and a modulating delay. Instead of adding, here, hold on a second, they might be conversing, so I'm gonna turn that off. So yeah, I'm about to wrap up because it's dinner time. I've got some, we're gonna go see some friends for some food to hang. But that's a lot less CPU power, I believe, to add the chorus and the chorus echo instead of adding 8 voices of polyphony playing arpeggiated chords. That would just eat up an awful lot of CPU cycles. So and then if you want to lessen the effect of the chorus, bring down the depth. Let's see if we were to go over here and solo this. One note. As you bring down the rate, it'll get more clear. As you bring this up, it gets busier, and hear that? So we want to bring the rate down slower and less depth. So kind of cool. I'm going to clean it up. It's a little muddy, so there's places to clean it up and optimize it after the fact, but there you go. We made a horror kind of thing. Go to my category. This is BPM Monty times 2. So it's the right hand and the left hand. And they don't have any requirements for multis. It's the things you have to save. So there you go. Sound heavy. Yeah, it's got some work to do to it, but you know, it's tricky when you have delay on things. So I'll probably go through and clean those up some so that it's not so prominent and noticeable. Cool. Yeah, I've got it set so you can do 1080 resolution. So hopefully that works for everybody. Should contain a drum multi. Okay, well, yeah, make one. I'll try a couple. You mean the kind of the retro drum kind of, see if we can. We might be able to make stuff like that for sure. The tools are there. It's been done before. All right, I'm going to cut out. Thank you for joining me for the live stream. Hope you guys learned something. Any questions? If you have questions, pop them up. Otherwise, let's do our shout outs. Yeah, some 80s things. Yeah, that'd be cool for sure. Shout out from PDX. And, oh, wow. Cool, Jim. Yeah. It's pretty cool for having a synth that can go from that to violins. Oh, by the way, Mega Magic violins, Sunday night, tomorrow night, the sale ends. As far as getting it at its discounted introductory price, that goes away tomorrow night. We got shout outs from Norway, Amsterdam, Ottawa, Cool. From Oregon, from Steve, from Sweden, from Bavaria. You guys are all over the place. All right. Winter time. Oh, yeah, we're supposed to do the winter time shift, right? I think that comes up pretty soon. I think at the 4th. We got Thailand here with Cox, of course. Bernie's here. Yo, Bernie. Yo, Tim. Kid Anthem, wherever he's at. Harold, good to see you. See you all. All right. I'm out of here. I'll let you know about time changes and stuff, and hopefully we get this all to be figured out, because, yeah, that is coming up for the time change. But thank you for joining. It's so fun to see you guys and hang out. So be well. Have fun making retro patches. Do your favorite horror movies if you want. And those will be collected in a week. 1 week from today, we'll collect patches. And then my assistant Taylor and myself will get busy building the library to get it out to you guys on Halloween Eve, so that you guys have fun sounds to play with. All right? So thank you for joining. See you guys next week, okay? Bye.